Hello, nerds. It's been a little while. We just got done at Denver Pop Culture Con, but this is your week in Nerdom for June 4th, 2019. Let's hit an intro and talk about the news. Alright, so updates on the channel before we jump right into the news. First things first, we did just get done at Denver Pop Culture Con 2019, formerly known as Denver Comic Con. I don't know how long I'm going to keep saying it like that. I know I already said once that we were, well, you haven't seen it yet, but I did say once in the videos that I was just going to call it Denver Comic Con, but that's not what it is anymore, but whatever. So, just finished up there. I have a bunch of footage to go through. I also have some more clients to appease, so I have pictures to edit for that. So there's going to be a lot of content coming out. Still working on all the stuff from Starfest. I think I might still even have an interview or two from Dink to go through. Both interviews from Starfest. The How to Comic Con video from Starfest should be going up sometime in the next day or two. And all of the things are just heading your way, so stay tuned for all of that. But now, let's jump right into music news. And we only have one piece of music news this episode, and it is Mac Miller. There is a documentary in the works about his life, so that'll be really interesting. For those that are unfamiliar, Mac Miller did die just about a couple of months ago, a little over a couple months ago. He was overdose, cocaine and something. And hip-hop artist. He's actually one of my favorite modern hip-hop artists, I guess you could say. It'll be interesting to see exactly kind of how things played out for him, just because he was such a unique artist in the genre. But that's all we have for music news. Let's jump into the TVs. And this week in TV, we've got 3 bits, and they're all pretty interesting. First up is a Magic the Gathering animated series that's finding its way on Netflix. Now that in and of itself would be fantastic news, but on top of that, the executive producers for the show is going to be Anthony and Joe Russo, whose name you probably know because they directed Avengers Endgame. So, very high bar they've set for themselves with this animated series. Next is a quickie bit. We finally got our first trailer for, again, another Netflix series, the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Go check that out on the YouTubes. It looks kind of incredible, though it seems that even with all the modern technology that is going into it, even with the CGI that they're going to augment the practical effects with, they're still kind of creepy little creatures that don't have any life in their eyes. Hopefully what we're seeing is not a final product, and there will be a little bit more tweaking going on to the faces so that we can relate a little better to these characters, because that's one of the things that makes the original movie so creepy, is the dead eyes. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to the series, though, because the movie was pretty great. And then our last piece of TV news comes from Adult Swim, kind of vicariously. So all of you Adult Swim fans, all of you fans of all of the shows, not necessarily anyone in particular, well, one in particular, Boondocks is coming back to Adult Swim. Actor John Witherspoon was on the Joe Rogan Podcast, and he said that they are in pre-production for another season of Boondocks, which is kind of awesome because it's a great show. Now, let's jump over to the movies section of today's episode. And first up on movies, this is going to be a huge section, so we're going to burn through it as fast as we can. First up on movies is Black Widow. Norwegian outlet, Dagbladet. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but it's a news outlet in Norway. They're saying, along with a couple other ones actually, that The Black Widow is actively in production, and they have images, so go check those out for your first peek at the new Black Widow movie. Next up is another trailer. We got the second trailer for the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie. This is the Guillermo del Toro directed movie that we've been waiting for, based on the very popular children's book that kind of gave everyone nightmares when we were young. With this trailer, we get to see a little bit more of the narrative around the story. So what was billed as an anthology movie looks a little more like a string of vignettes strung together with a common through line, which is actually kind of a better take, I think, than just standalone anthology pieces. So I'm actually a little bit more excited knowing that. Next, continuing Disney's mad dash to save all of their IPs, to maintain control and not let them go into public domain, they are now doing Snow White, apparently, for their next live-action movie. Director Marc Webb, who did the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the ones that kind of are very divisive in the fandom, he is in talks to direct the live-action Snow White movie. Next, we're talking about the Eternals, and this one's very, very much rumor, so take this with a grain of salt, put your rumor hat on, however you gotta take that. This is a giant rumor, but it seems that Keanu Reeves is going to be the next one to join the cast alongside Angelina Jolie and Kumail Nanjiani in the movie, though none of these roles have been explicitly laid out. We can only guess what characters they will be playing, and honestly, for Keanu Reeves, I have no idea. Really have nothing. Next, keeping in line with that grain of salt and the rumor hat, as you will, we have a rumor, a pretty fairly reliable rumor about the Suicide Squad movie. It seems Idris Elba is supposedly going to be playing Bronze Tiger in the James Gunn movie. That is according to entertainment reporter Mark Hughes from Forbes. And then our last bit of movie news for this episode, guys, has to do with the Joker. And rumor site We Got This Covered is reporting that the Joker is going to have a tie to Bruce Wayne in the new movie. They say that there is going to be a half-brother connection. Apparently, Thomas Wayne is less than faithful to Martha and has a little fling with Arthur Fleck's mom, in which we get Arthur Fleck. This is, again, very, very much rumor, but this is a pretty interesting twist on the traditional story that we know about Batman and Joker's relationship. Now let's switch gears over to gaming, and first up in gaming news, we have a sad update-ish on Shenmue 3. For the big Shenmue fans, you're going to have to wait a few more months to get your game. The publisher has just moved the release date back from August 27th to November 19th. So not a huge move, but they say they just need a little bit more time to polish their game. Then we have two really awesome updates on Mortal Kombat 11. One of them is actually kind of trolling from Bruce Campbell, because we got that tweet from him where he's squashed, quote unquote, squashed the rumor that he's going to be voicing Ash in the new game. Now he's got another tweet in which he replied to or retweets with reply. I don't know the terminology. He retweets a NetherRealm tweet in which they play the new trailer for Shang Tsung and the announcements of the other characters, with the other announcement that there's going to be two guest characters. So that's the retweet that he made, in which he said, "Seems like a good game, maybe I'll check it out." Just so much trolling. But the other piece of actual news for Mortal Kombat 11 for this episode is that we're going to get the original voice actor for Spawn. For those unfamiliar, there was an HBO series years ago in which Keith David was the voice of the titular character, and he's coming back for this game, which NetherRealm really has that pull. I think the only one that they haven't got the original voice actors for has been the Ninja Turtles in Injustice. Otherwise, well, I don't know, probably not Freddy either. They didn't get Robert Englund to do the voice for Freddy in Mortal Kombat 9, but still pretty freaking awesome, because that is the voice of Spawn for pretty much anybody who reads the comics, who is old enough to have seen the HBO series. And then our last bit of gaming news has to do with Death Stranding. Yes, we did get an 8-minute trailer, and yes, you should go watch it. I will put the link in the description if you have not. That's not necessarily the news though it is pretty freaking great. The release date was announced. It's November, so go check that out. But we just found out that it is not going to be a console exclusive game. It's not just going to be on the PS4. Sadly, it's also not going to be on the Switch or the Xbox One. It's going to PC as its other platform. So after 6 to 12 months, you will see Death Stranding released on the PC as well as being released already on the PS4. Now let's finish this episode with some comic books news. We have 2 pieces in comic books today, and the first one is the announcement of another DC Black Label book called Joker Harley Criminal Sanity. The writer for this series is going to be Cami Garcia, and we're going to be seeing art from Mike Matthew and Miko Suyan. I'm not familiar. I know Garcia is a young adult author. She does a lot of young adult series, but I don't know any of her comic book stuff. I'm not super familiar with the art team either, so we'll have to wait and see. Though pretty much all of the DC Black stuff has been spot on amazing, so this should ideally continue in that vein. And then our last piece of comic book news has to do with Marvel, and it's a little bit of a meta piece because now that C.B. Cebulski has taken over as editor-in-chief, he is now saying that there's going to be a lot more weight given to death, meaning he doesn't want to see death used as a vehicle to sell more books, because then it's less permanent. It means less. You're actually not going to sell as many books because we know that once you kill Wolverine, he's going to come back in a year. Though, I mean, to their credit, it did take about 2.5 to 3 years for that to happen, but still, he's back now, and we knew it was coming. And then Deathstroke dies, and then he comes back, and just so much. Well, I guess that was DC, but still, just kind of illustrating the point that in comic books, death is temporary. Cebulski, however, regardless of what you think about his personal politics or anything like that, Cebulski is saying that now that he's the man in charge, it's going to take a lot more to kill off a character, and once a character is dead, they will either stay dead permanently or at least for a much longer period of time. So that's really interesting, and I want to hand this off to you. A, do you think this is actually going to happen? Because we've already seen a few deaths since Cebulski has taken that office. So are those deaths going to stay? Are we really going to not have a proper Thanos for a while? Is there going to be a new attitude on death, or is he just blowing smoke? And 2, how do you feel if this is accurate? If they are going to give us a new take on death in the Marvel Universe, does that make you want to read more books? Because if somebody dies and they stay dead, that actually gives weight to the storyline. So I'm handing that off to you guys. What do you think? And that is where we're going to end this episode of your Week in Nerddom. What did I miss, guys? What should we talk about next week? Definitely let me know in the comments down low. If, though, you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. That is the place that you can go find all of the freebies and all of the things. Again, generallynerdy.net, links to the social medias, as well as links to the Patreon, or patreon.com/generallynerdy is the place that you can go directly to support the channel more. There is more content up there. It does need a little bit of work, but it is going to happen. So go check out patreon.com/generallynerdy. If you're new to the channel, then click the subscribe button. If you like this episode, click the like button. If you're falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, then you can click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before you click the box and visit the website and do all of the things, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.